Live from New Delhi, watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. US President Donald Trump cancels strikes and bombings against Iran, cites progress in ongoing negotiations. Tehran denies any such claims, says no final decision made. Russia captures 2 new settlements in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region as strikes between the two intensify. Kiev attacks Moscow's oil refinery and drone sites. South Korean court sentences former President Yoon Suk-yeol to 30 years in prison over Pyongyang drone case, marking a dramatic legal downfall and deepening the nation's political turmoil. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar discusses new geopolitical competition conflicts with Finland, reaffirms strategic partnership with Finnish President Alexander Stubb. National capital braces for fresh rain spell and thunderstorms. Orange alert issued. Heavy showers also expected in northeast and southern India. And in FIFA World Cup 2026, co-host Mexico marked the occasion with a 2-0 win over South Africa in the opening match. Our top story, US President Donald Trump has cancelled planned strikes against Iran, citing progress in ongoing negotiations between the two sides. The announcement came hours after Trump threatened further bombings and signaled a desire to take control of Iran's key oil export hub, Kharg Island. He said the scheduled strikes and bombings had been called off, while a naval blockade would remain in force until a final agreement is reached. Meanwhile, Iran said it has not yet made a final decision on a possible agreement with the United States. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai said much of the negotiating text had been finalized but accused Washington of repeatedly changing its positions. All right, we'll go across to DD India's Akhilesh Suman. He joins us live to talk more on this. Good morning, Akhilesh. After threatening to hit Iran very hard, quote unquote, Trump called off strikes, says deal is being finalized. Do you think anything has changed? Because he has said it so many times that deal is very near, and Iran, in fact, completely denies any claims.
Yes, if you remember, Abhishek, that Iranian news agencies are telling that in last 2 months, Donald Trump has made 38 times such announcement that deal is being done, deal is nearly being done, and it has not come. And Iranians have earlier said that any announcement will be made by Iran also, or not just by Donald Trump. So I think that Donald Trump makes an attack, sees that impact, and then negotiators go there, go to Tehran, and then they come back, and then some pause is done. Like yesterday, what happened, the day before yesterday, US attacked Iranian targets, and Iran also attacked US targets. And after that, a delegation from Doha went to Tehran yesterday, and they came back to Doha yesterday only. So it was a few hours talk with Iranian leadership with Doha delegation. And Donald Trump had announced in between that, US will hit Iran very hard. But I think that after Doha's, mediators communication with US, Donald Trump has stopped the attack. So I think that this is going, that negotiations are going, points are being discussed, 5 points are being discussed, texts are being finalized, and there is no agreement on few phrases, on few points, and So I think that we have to wait and see that whether final agreement reached between Iran and USA, because Iranians are also quite stuck to
Right.
their ground, that they want a very respectful negotiation, so that the damage that they have they have been imparted physically in Iran, they want to win it through some respectful negotiation and agreement with US, and also with a caveat that Lebanon also should not be attacked. So many of the points relate to Israel activities, whether Israel will obey with the whole negotiation, because in Gaza many people have seen that even after ceasefire was announced, there have been so many attacks from Israeli side. So it is Hamas that is not active now, but Israel is active. So in the same way, Iranians feel that even if a loose agreement is announced, maybe that Israelis will not obey it. And in that situation, I think it will be very difficult for Iran. In between, yesterday we have also seen that Donald Trump and Netanyahu had a talk. Actually, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, called Donald Trump, and he vowed that he will obey with whatever agreement USA reaches with Iran. But he also put forward 2 points, that there should be no enriched uranium with Iran, and also there should be no missile capacity with Iran. So I think these are two very hard conditions for any country as Iran, because Iran is also fighting to keep its own sovereignty in hand, and also that it wants that such type of at least on missile things they don't want to negotiate too much. But there might be some improvement on nuclear thing, but about the timing, that Donald Trump has said that whatever you are agreeing, give us in writing that you will not make a nuclear weapon. You have to give in writing. Iranians, though, we are telling that it is not for weapon, but it is just for peaceful energy purposes. So on that, Iranians may agree, and also they may agree on the time, means 10 years or 15 years. Donald Trump has been telling that it should be stopped for 20 years. Maybe Iranians want 15 years or 10 years time. So I think that is negotiable, but I think that the missile program, they are not very much agreeing on the stopping the missile and drone program. So it is quite in doldrum, Abhishek. Donald Trump has made a statement. He has retracted that he will not hit hard, and now it is the negotiators who will do the final work. But let us see that whether there is another attack from any side, because the Strait of Hormuz has been closed, and Iran has yesterday announced that the Strait of Hormuz is closed for all activities. So it is again a big pressure on USA, how USA will resolve it, because complete closure even with coordination is not allowed by Iranians now. And we have seen that US also had attacked a few ships, 3 ships in which Indians were also there, had been attacked, and 3 Indians had died. So it's a very fierce situation. So we have to wait and see for a day or two that how Iran responds to it physically, and then how US responds to it physically.
Yes.
But the blockade of Iran is still on, and that is also becoming dear
Yes.
for Iranians.
Yes, negotiations are still on, and let's see when they reach the breakthrough. And next few days, like you're saying, will be very crucial. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your input, Saklesh. Moving on, United Arab Emirates President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan met the United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, on Thursday. The two sides discussed regional developments and their effect on international and maritime security and the global economy. They also looked into ways to further strengthen cooperation between the UAE and the US across various fields. The meeting was also attended by Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, as well as other senior officials. Shifting focus now, Russian forces have claimed the capture of 2 settlements in eastern Ukraine, Rozkishne in the Donetsk region and Okhremivka in the Kharkiv region, as fighting between Moscow and Kiev intensifies. Russia's defense ministry said Rozkishne was seized through coordinated intelligence, artillery and drone operations, while Okhremivka was taken after drone and artillery strikes. Ukrainian military reports confirmed Russian attacks around Okhremivka but did not acknowledge the loss of either settlement. The advances form part of Russia's broader effort to secure the Donbas region and establish a buffer zone near its border. Meanwhile, Ukraine said it struck Russia's Afipsky oil refinery in Krasnodar and targeted facilities linked to drone production in Crimea. Kiev reported fires at the refinery while Russian officials blamed falling drone debris. Now, Bulgaria's military conducted the Strike Back 26 tactical live fire exercise on Thursday with over 1,500 servicemen from 6 nations participating in the multinational drill. The exercise, led by the 2nd Tunzar Mechanized Brigade, brought together forces from Bulgaria, the United States, Italy, Turkey and Romania with nearly 420 combat and auxiliary vehicles. Armoured vehicles fired during the training while soldiers operated drones and tested new unmanned aerial technology. Moving on, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Thursday stated that the trilateral free trade agreement the country holds with the United States and Canada, known as the USMCA, will be maintained. Earlier, Trump said the US might not renew the free trade deal, claiming the country did not need anything from its North American counterparts. The three countries need to approve a renewal of their existing agreement by July 1st or signal their intention to exit the pact. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Former Army officer Dan Jarvis named Britain's new defence minister. And we'll get you updates on anti-immigrant protests in Northern Ireland. And Congo's Ebola outbreak spreads to 3 health zones. Number of cases rises to 676. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahaj and some more stories. South Korea's former President Yoon Suk-yeol has been sentenced to 30 years in prison over allegations linked to his failed 2024 martial law declaration. A Seoul court found South Korea's former President Yoon Suk-yeol guilty of ordering military drones to be sent into North Korean airspace a move prosecutors said was intended to create a pretext for imposing martial law in December 2024. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Thursday he is nominating federal prosecutor Jake Layton to lead the next director of national intelligence following pushback from U.S. lawmakers over his pick to fill the role temporarily. In a post on Truth Social, Trump praised Clayton's standing within the legal profession and urged the U.S. Senate to approve his nomination quickly. Clayton currently serves as the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and previously chaired the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, bringing extensive legal and regulatory experience to the role. And President Donald Trump's handpicked board at the Kennedy Center is seeking to keep his name on the iconic performing arts venue's facade, voting to request a legal stay just days before a court-ordered deadline to remove it. The move comes after U.S. District Judge Christopher Cooper ruled that Trump's name was unlawfully added and ordered it removed by Friday, saying only Congress can change the Kennedy Center's official name. The judge also blocked planned renovations that were due to begin in July. The board, which Trump reshaped after returning to office, has increasingly asserted control over the institution, including installing him as chairman and renaming the venue. The decision has deepened controversy around the center, which has seen a wave of artist withdrawals and resignations amid growing political tensions. And former Army officer Dan Jarvis was Thursday named Britain's new defence minister hours after John Healey quit, accusing the government of failing to commit enough money to protect the country. Jarvis was a junior minister for security in the Home Office under Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour government. And Healey's shock resignation weakened Starmer's authority a week before a by-election that could prompt a bid to replace the Prime Minister. Healey warned that Starmer's delayed defence investment plan could leave Britain less safe, although the Prime Minister has pledged to publish it before the NATO summit in Turkey on July 7. Following the resignation of John Healey, Al Carnes became the second senior figure in the defence establishment to quit, stepping down as Armed Forces Minister. The latest resignation adds to the challenges facing Starmer, who has been under pressure since Health Minister Wes Streeting stepping down in May. Meanwhile, another potential challenger, Andy Burnham, is reportedly seeking a return to frontline politics to launch a leadership bid. Moving on, in Northern Ireland's Belfast, police arrested 16 people during a second night of disorder sparked by a brutal stabbing, but there were no new clashes on Thursday evening. Groups gathered across the city in the evening but dispersed peacefully after police increased their presence and issued warnings. The previous night saw dozens of masked protesters clash with riot police. The clashes with police came after a Sudanese man appeared in court charged with attempted murder over Monday night's shocking knife attack. Video of the incident went viral across social media platforms, triggering condemnation and anger that has spilled onto the streets of Northern Ireland. And thousands of protesters marched through Albania's capital on Thursday, the latest in a series of demonstrations against a planned resort linked to the Trump family. For over a week, daily demonstrations have been held in Tirana against the project connected to Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka Trump and her husband Jared Kushner. As in previous rallies, the crowd marched to the government headquarters on Tirana's main boulevard. The planned €5 billion project has sparked controversy over its location near a protected wetland rich in wildlife and concerns about the transparency of plans put forward by foreign investors. The unrest adds pressure on PM Eddie Rama, whose resignation is being demanded amid growing criticism over corruption and public services. On to some updates on Ebola outbreak. Congo's Ebola outbreak has spread to 3 new health zones, according to a government report published on Thursday that showed the number of confirmed cases had risen to 676, including 136 deaths. The figure represented the total number of confirmed cases as of Wednesday. A health zone in Congo's healthcare system covers a defined area with a network of clinics and a referral hospital covering lakhs of people. There are over 500 health zones in the country. US inflation has climbed to a 3-year high as rising energy costs push up prices for fuel, groceries and other everyday essentials across the country. Amid growing pressure on households, President Donald Trump said he loves inflation, linking the spike to the conflict in West Asia and predicting prices will fall once the conflict ends. DD India's Riya Raj has more on this.
US inflation has climbed to its highest level in 3 years, adding pressure on households already facing higher living costs. New government data showed consumer prices rose 4.2% in May compared to a year ago, driven largely by rising energy costs. Fuel prices surged as tensions in the West Asia disrupted oil supplies and pushed up transportation and household expenses. Reacting to the inflation report, US President Donald Trump said that he loves inflation. Trump later explained that the current rise in prices was linked to efforts surrounding the conflict in the region and said the situation would improve once the fighting ends. He predicted oil prices would fall sharply and inflation would come down.
I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. We've been taking out millions of barrels of oil. Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now.
Inflation to come down between now and
when the war is over?
Yes.
It's coming down.
Higher fuel costs have also affected the prices of other goods, including groceries and everyday essentials. Many Americans say they are feeling the impact at gas stations and supermarkets.
Groceries, gas, housing, anything as far as just essentials are changing the way we outcome and the way we live it today. Gas is through the roof. Things cost so much nowadays when it comes to groceries. I mean, anywhere from eggs, milk, just the borderline things to live nowadays.
Economists say energy prices have been the biggest factor behind the latest inflation surge. While some believe inflation may have reached its peak, much will depend on developments in global oil markets in the coming months. The inflation data is also being closely watched by the US Federal Reserve as policymakers prepare for their next interest rate decision. For now, rising prices remain a key concern for consumers, with inflation once again moving to the center of the economic debate in the United States. Riya Raj's report for DD India.
And Elon Musk SpaceX on Thursday confirmed it will begin trading on the Nasdaq exchange on Friday in the biggest initial public offering in history. The company priced over 555 million shares at $135 each, valuing it at nearly $1.8 trillion and placing it among Wall Street's most valuable firms. The offering is expected to raise about $75 billion, surpassing the record set by Saudi Aramco in 2019. If underwriters exercise their option to purchase additional shares, the total could exceed $86 billion. Let's now take a look at the ranking of the 10 largest IPOs on record in terms of fundraise. Figures SpaceX exceeded by a massive margin. Saudi Aramco, the Saudi oil giant, raised $25.6 billion on the Riyadh Stock Exchange in December 2019. Alibaba at $21.8 billion. The Chinese e-commerce giant made its debut on the New York Stock Exchange in September 2014. SoftBank Corp. $21.3 billion on the Tokyo Stock Exchange in December 2018. Agbank $19.2 billion. Chinese lender Agricultural Bank of China listed on the Shanghai and Hong Kong stock exchanges in July 2010. ICBC $19.1 billion. Another Chinese bank, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, also opted for Hong Kong and Shanghai in October 2006. NTT Mobile $18.1 billion. The Japanese mobile operator was listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange back in October 1998. Visa Inc. $17.9 billion. The American credit card network made its New York Stock Exchange debut in March 2008. AIA Group now $17.8 billion. This Asian subsidiary of American insurer AIG arrived on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in October 2010. Enel, $16.5 billion, the Italian energy giant whose shares trade in Milan and New York, made its stock market debut in November 1999. Facebook, now Meta, $16.0 billion in New York in May 2012. Now, weather updates now. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration on Thursday said the natural weather phenomena El Nino, marked by abnormal warming of surface ocean waters, has arrived. In its latest advisory, NOAA said El Nino conditions developed over the past month, indicated by above average sea surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean. It added that there is a 63% chance of a very strong El Nino between November and January, which could rank among the most significant events on record since 1950. Experts say every El Nino event is different, but it is often linked to disrupted monsoon patterns in India and shifting rainfall across tropical regions. El Nino typically occurs every 2 to 7 years and lasts around 9 to 12 months. It generally peaks towards the end of the year, with ocean heat releasing slowly into the atmosphere, contributing to higher global temperatures in the following year. And the India Met Department has issued a fresh alert for central, eastern and southern India for the next 2 to 3 days, bringing widespread rainfall activity across multiple regions. A fresh spell of rain accompanied by gusty winds swept across parts of the national capital, bringing much needed relief from the intense heat and humid conditions that had gripped the city over the past several days. The Met Department has issued an orange alert for Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir, as fresh western disturbance is set to bring widespread thunderstorms, gusty winds, lightning and hailstorms across northwest India until June 30. According to weather officials, eastern states including Odisha, Jharkhand, West Bengal and Bihar are likely to witness widespread showers over the coming days. Isolated areas may also experience thunderstorms accompanied by lightning and gusty winds. Meanwhile, several parts of southern India, including Kerala and coastal Karnataka, are expected to witness heavy to very heavy rainfall on June 12 as the southwest monsoon continues to strengthen over the region. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. The United Nations has launched the Global Alliance for Human Rights in Geneva ahead of 2028 milestone of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk called for a global movement to put human rights at the center of public life. The alliance aims to bring together governments, civil society and communities worldwide. Officials say it will strengthen accountability, inclusion and global cooperation on human rights. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has launched the Muscat Plan of Action to tackle rising hate speech globally. He warned that hate speech poses a serious threat to peace and can trigger violence and atrocities. The plan calls for stronger action by governments, tech firms and communities, along with better protection for vulnerable groups. It also highlights the role of traditional and indigenous leaders in preventing conflict and promoting social cohesion. Venezuela has granted energy major Shell a license to explore and export natural gas. The project will develop the long-idle Lauren gas field, marking a key step in reviving the country's energy sector. The move will boost gas exports and attract foreign investment. The deal comes as Venezuela expands partnerships with global energy companies. And Pope Leo has ended his Spain visit with a strong message on the migrant crisis. He met migrants in Tenerife and called for greater support and action against human trafficking networks. The Pope also paid tribute to those who died attempting sea crossings to Europe. He condemned global indifference and stressed that human dignity must be protected. Time now for another short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. A closer look at how over the past 12 years government initiatives have aimed to empower marginalized communities. PM Modi to visit France, hold comprehensive talks with Emmanuel Macron in Nice. And the maiden edition of Bharat Innovates is all set to be hosted in France's Nice from June 14th.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
अरे it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi becomes the country's longest continuously serving elected premier, marking 12 years at the helm of the central government. A journey dedicated to trust, development and public welfare. Over the last 12 years, the government has focused on empowering marginalized communities through targeted interventions in education, skill development, infrastructure and social welfare. Among the key beneficiaries of these efforts have been tribal and minority communities, with programs aimed at expanding opportunities, preserving cultural heritage and ensuring greater participation in the nation's development journey. Here's a special report.
For India's tribal communities, the last decade has witnessed a significant increase in government support. The budget of the Ministry of Tribal Affairs has more than tripled, while allocations under the Development Action Plan for scheduled tribes have witnessed increased more than fivefold. A landmark initiative, PM Janman, launched in 2023 with an outlay of around 24,000 crore rupees, is focused on the development of particularly vulnerable tribal groups, improving access to housing, education, healthcare, roads, drinking water, and connectivity. Education has received a major boost through the expansion of Eklavya model residential schools, with hundreds of schools providing quality education and residential facilities to tribal students across the country. The government has also strengthened efforts to preserve tribal identity and heritage. November 15th is now observed as Janjatiya Gaurav Divas in honor of Bhagwan Birsa Munda, while the election of Draupadi Murmu as India's first tribal president marked a historic milestone in representation. For minority communities, the focus has been on education, skill development, and economic empowerment. Scholarship programs including pre-matric, post-matric, and merit-cum-means schemes have supported students from minority communities with special emphasis on girls' education. The PM Vikas program has integrated multiple skill development initiatives to provide training, entrepreneurship, support, and livelihood opportunities, particularly for youth, women, and traditional artisans. Infrastructure development in minority concentrated areas has been strengthened through the Pradhan Mantri Jan Vikas Karikram, supporting the creation of schools, hospitals, hostels, skill centers, and community assets. Minority entrepreneurs have also benefited from concessional loan schemes through the National Minorities Development and Finance Corporation. Among the most significant reforms was the abolition of instant triple talaq in 2019, aimed at protecting the rights and dignity of Muslim women. The government also introduced reforms in the Hajj process through digitization and measures that enable women to undertake Hajj without a mehram. Together, these initiatives reflect a broader effort to ensure social justice, economic opportunity, and inclusive development for some of India's most vulnerable communities. From empowering tribal communities through education, infrastructure, to expanding opportunities for minorities through skill development and social reform, the past 12 years have seen a focused effort to make growth more inclusive and participatory. As India advances towards the vision of Viksit Bharat, the empowerment of every community remains central to the nation's development agenda. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will travel to Evian, France to participate in the 52nd G7 summit scheduled to be held from 15 to 17 June. Secretary West in the Ministry of External Affairs, Sibi George, said that PM Modi is visiting France on the invitation of French President.
Honorable Prime Minister will be traveling to Evian, France to participate in the 52nd G7 summit, which is to be held from 15 to 17 June, where India has been invited as a partner country. The visit will provide an opportunity for the Honorable Prime Minister to engage with the world leaders present at the G Summit on issues of importance to India as well as to the global South.
The Secretary asserted that India's regular participation in G7 summits reflects global recognition of its growing role in addressing challenges related to peace, security, development and sustainability.
India's regular participation at the G7 summits reflects the increasing recognition of India's role and contributions in addressing global challenges relating to peace, security, development and environmental sustainability. Also at the G7, as in other international forums, including the G20 and the OAS of Global South Summit, India has consistently brought to the forefront the priorities, concerns and developmental aspirations of the Global South.
And Secretary West further talked about the key priorities of G7 summit.
The G7 summit under the French presidency has chosen some key priorities for the current year. In broad terms, these are reducing excessive macroeconomic imbalances and fostering shared growth, renewing international partnerships and development solidarity, strengthening the resilience of critical mineral value chains, protecting miners online, settling major geopolitical crises, to work on the fight against organized crime and illicit flows, etc.
And India is all set to witness a journey of transformation in the deep tech sector. As India continues to stride forward on the path to progress with a clear vision of becoming a developed nation by year 2047 and taking India-France ties to a new level, the maiden edition of Bharat Innovates is all set to be hosted in France's Nice from June 14th. Take a look at this next report to understand more about the maiden event that is all set to bring a change when India meets the world celebrating deep tech.
2026 भारत फ्रांस संबंधों के लिए एक अति विशेष वर्ष है। इसमें पीपल टू पीपल एक्सचेंज और गहरे होंगे। इंडस्ट्री टू इंडस्ट्री पार्टनरशिप का विस्तार होगा। जून 2026 में फ्रांस में भारत इनोवेट्स 2026 के तहत हम भारत के बेहतरीन टेक स्टार्टअप दुनिया के सामने रखेंगे, जो हेल्थ, क्लाइमेट, सिक्योरिटी जैसे ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस के समाधान बना रहे हैं।
India stands at a defining moment in its development journey, one where innovation is no longer merely an aspiration, but a fundamental driver of economic growth, global competitiveness and societal transformation. In Bharat's Amrit Kaal, where the mission is to become a developed nation by the year 2047, the Government of India has launched Bharat Innovates 2026 during the India-France Year of Innovation. It is a national program of the Ministry of Education, Government of India, designed as a global accelerator for innovations from Indian higher education institutions, thereby building a long-term collaboration bridge between India's innovation ecosystem and global stakeholders. announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 17th of February 2026 at the inauguration of the India-France Year of Innovation. The maiden event extends invitation to global leaders, CEOs, investors, and universities to collaborate with India's innovation ecosystem. Bharat Innovates 2026. The maiden edition takes India's top 120 deep tech startups to Nice, France, to catalyze pilots, co-development, investments, research partnerships, manufacturing, and market access, along with 15 premier Indian higher education institutions, including the IITs and IISc, and 5+ scientific and strategic institutions will come together. Bharat Innovates will serve as a privileged gateway to the Indian innovation ecosystem, revolving around 13 frontier technology themes. These include semiconductors, biotechnology, space and defense, healthcare and medtech, advanced computing, AI, cloud, quantum, next-gen communications, advanced materials and critical minerals, energy, sustainability and climate, smart cities and mobility, blue economy, agri and food technologies, disaster management and resilience. For global stakeholders, Bharat Innovates 2026 will provide an opportunity to build sustained engagement with India's innovation ecosystem through investor-grade deal flow, fast-track partnerships, research access, problem-to-solution bridge, global soft landing routes, R&D pipeline. As the world navigates rapid technological disruption, climate imperatives, and evolving supply chains, India is emerging not just as a participant in these changes, but as a leader shaping the future. The narrative has moved beyond Make in India to embrace a more ambitious vision. Create in India, innovate for the world.
French President Emmanuel Macron had famously said, "The question is no longer if India innovates, the question is who will innovate with India." We are at Palais d'Exposition, the venue of Bharat Innovates, a unique global platform which is going to bring together and join the ecosystems of higher education, startups, and talent mobility of India and France. With camera person Aniket Dubey, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India, Nice.
Moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is on a Finland visit, stressed the need for resilient and diversified supply chains, sustained diplomatic efforts and greater international cooperation to deal with the fallout of ongoing conflicts. Speaking in a panel discussion at Kultaranta Talks on emerging powers and the new geopolitical competition, the minister said that India is firming up defence ties with Europe. On energy security, External Affairs Minister reiterated that India's energy choices are guided by national interest and that purchases are based on considerations of affordability and availability.
To some extent, the rest of the world will work with the region also to build redundancy, and the IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, is envisaged as one such initiative. But the third one, which is really interesting, I cite my own country as an example. Today, our largest oil supplier, little less than 40%, is Russia. Our largest gas supplier is the United States. And that was not the case till the 28th of February of this year. The main supplier was Qatar.
Sure.
So what is happening is the world is also de-risking on the region.
Giving his remarks on India's stance on Russia and Ukraine conflict, the minister said that Indians have never done anything to endanger Europe.
Obviously, ask you about the Russia-Ukraine war. I think in Europe there was a feeling that India adopted what we would regard as a kind of moral equivalence between the two sides, that you were saying, well, it's a big shame, but maybe they should stop, but you were too sympathetic towards Russia, too willing to buy oil from Russia. So how would you explain that position to the people here?
Well, I'd make two observations. I buy oil. I buy oil based on cost and availability. So at that point of time, much of the oil available on the market was Russian, because the Europeans were essentially buying up the Middle East oil, which was our traditional supplier. So circumstances pushed us in a certain direction. But since you spoke about moral ambiguity, I would say this, no European country has been attacked with Indian weapons. I wish I could say that for European weapons vis-a-vis India. So keep that in mind.
Be more explicit so that people understand what you're saying.
Europeans sell weapons which are used to attack India. Not now, for many, many years. We Indians have never done anything to endanger Europe. So I think that's a reasonable point.
Okay.
Earlier, EAM Jaishankar met Finnish President Alexander Stubb on the sidelines of Kultaranta talks and exchanged views on the evolving geopolitical situation and underscored the importance of diplomacy in navigating an increasingly uncertain global environment. India and Finland remain committed to advancing strategic partnership in digitalization and sustainability while strengthening coordination in multilateral fora on issues of shared interest. And in a tragic incident, at least 3 people were killed while 2 others remain critical after a fire broke out in a multi-story residential building in southeast Delhi's Tughlakabad area in the early hours of Friday. The blaze erupted in the parking area on the ground floor of a building comprising a ground floor and 5 upper stories. Initial inquiry revealed that the fire appeared to have started due to an electrical short circuit on the ground floor. The flames quickly engulfed 7 parked 2-wheelers, including an electric scooter that was being charged. And stage is set for International Day of Yoga for a renewed global movement towards holistic health and well-being. As the countdown to the International Day of Yoga gathers momentum, communities across South Africa are embracing the spirit of wellness, mindfulness and healthy aging. From Cape Town to Johannesburg, Durban and Pretoria, a series of events featuring breathing techniques, meditation and the uplifting practice of laughter yoga are building anticipation for the global celebration on June 21st.
Before the emails, before the deadlines, notifications, and before checking in online, people checked in with themselves. In a world that really slows down, yoga offers an invitation to pause, breathe, and reconnect. As South Africa builds towards the International Day of Yoga on June 21st, a series of events have been bringing that message to communities across the country. From Pretoria to Johannesburg, Durban to Cape Town, practitioners have come together throughout June to celebrate a tradition that continues to evolve while remaining rooted in mindfulness and well-being.
As this year's Yoga Day theme is Yoga for Healthy Aging, that's a clear message that yoga can be started at any age, any point in life. So it is for everyone, whether a child or a grown-up or an old age person. Anybody can practice yoga, start practicing yoga.
This year's theme, Yoga for Healthy Aging, highlights the role yoga can play in supporting physical vitality, mental resilience, and emotional balance throughout life's journey.
Modern life is just getting busier and busier and more demanding, and it is so important that we prioritize practices that recharge our batteries. So I really encourage people, especially if you ever experience burnout or you feel very stressed or anxious, now is the time to step on the mat. Now is a better time than ever.
Participants explored breathing techniques that encourage calm and focus, while meditation sessions created space for stillness amid the noise of everyday life. Adding a lighter touch to the celebrations was laughter yoga, proving that sometimes one of the simplest paths to wellness begins with a smile.
We got a lot of positive response from the local government, from the South African government. In fact, we had Western Cape's Minister of Health, Ms. Mireille Wenger, join us today as our chief guest. And a lot of local community, the diaspora, expats, dignitaries, Indian associations, everybody was here with us today.
The growing appreciation for yoga has also been reflected in support from Western Cape Health and Wellness MEC Muriel Wenger.
Over many centuries, yoga has been a movement for well-being. And as the public health sector, we certainly can learn a lot of lessons from yoga. It can promote stillness, breath work, as well as calmness, and it has many benefits for all. We're happy to participate in this wonderful event.
As South Africa joins the global countdown to International Day of Yoga on 21st of June, the focus is not just on adding years to life, but life to years. For DD India, South Africa, I'm Nazneen coming to you from Johannesburg. No notifications needed, just a deep breath and a little mindfulness.
All the updates from the FIFA World Cup now. Mexico ignited their World Cup party with a dominant 2-0 victory over 9-man South Africa as the biggest ever edition of the global footballing showpiece kicked off. Julian Quinones scored the opening goal of the tournament after 9 minutes, and 35-year-old striker Raul Jimenez headed in the second goal at the Azteca, which became the first stadium in the world to host games at 3 World Cups. South Africa, meanwhile, never looked like spoiling the opening day fiesta and finished with only 9 men after Swefelo Sithole and Themba Zwane were sent off. Sithole dismissed for denying a goal-scoring opportunity before Zwane was shown a red card for a slap. Mexico's Cesar Montes was also sent off for a late foul. Quinones fired the hosts into the lead on 9 minutes, drilling a low shot through the legs of South Africa's goalkeeper and captain Ronwen Williams. And Colombian star Shakira and Nigerian singer Burna Boy had the spectators out of their seats in the opening ceremony for the 2026 World Cup in Mexico City. In the highlight of the ceremony, Shakira and Burna Boy performed Die Die, the official song of the tournament, bringing roars from the crowd. Dancers twirled around a giant model of the World Cup trophy while fireworks went off in the historic 80,000 capacity stadium which hosted the 1970 and 1986 World Cup finals. J Balvin and Italian Andrea Bocelli were among the other performers before kickoff. The 48-team tournament is also being hosted by the United States and Canada and will feature 104 games, culminating in the final in New Jersey on July 19. Let's go across to DD India's Narayan Singh. He joins us live from New Delhi. Narayan, Mexico have made a winning start to the FIFA World Cup 2026 with a 2-0 victory over South Africa. Tell us, how significant is this result for the hosts, especially considering it is their first ever win in a World Cup opening game?
Abhishek, we talk about this match, as we know that every important match and every match, especially the opening match, is important because from here you set the tone for the tournament ahead. And winning the opening match in front of the home crowd, we can say that it's a big deal for the Mexico. The kind of start they wanted, they got that. And if you take a look in 2010 World Cup, when it was hosted by South Africa, the first match, the opening match, was between these two teams when the match was ended in a draw and South Africa opened the scoring with Shabalala, the South African striker, just opening, and this sensational goal. He helped the team to take the lead in that match, and after that, the Mexican player just equalized and the match ended there. So here, winning that opening match, it's a big deal, I think. But the most important thing is that in the first match itself, the referee gave 3 red cards. So it's we can say that from the referee point of view, it's an early sign and early, we can say that a symbol that the referees will be strict with the players. If we take a look at the previous edition, that is held in Qatar, only 4 red cards were given throughout the tournament. In the previous tournament in Russia also, only 4 red cards was throughout the tournament. So that they have matched that figure almost here with 3 red cards in the opening match. So all in all, we can say that it will be a strict World Cup for the players. If they do foul, they have to play disciplined football, and that is very important. And most importantly, their second goal scorer, Raul Jimenez, who recently signed by Fulham from Wolverhampton. So it's a great day for him because around 6 years back in 2020 on November, he was almost died during a football match on the football pitch because of a head injury. There was a, we can say that huge crack in his skull, and because of that his football career was almost over. But again, he is scoring at the biggest moment. So from we can say that again becoming a hero for his team. It's a big deal and a big story, footballing story.
Absolutely. And also Narayan, second match is also going on between South Korea and Czechia. Czechia is currently leading 1-0. But Narayan, the World Cup always produces memorable moments and surprise results. Which teams do you believe could emerge as the dark horses of this edition?
If we talk about this edition, almost there are multiple teams who can be the winners in this World Cup, despite of the fact, especially I want to mention few African teams in the past also. And today, the way South Korea, we can say it's also a dark horse in the former semi-finalists, and last time around also they were in the round of 16s. They have the capability, South Korea, to still, we can say that they have a player like Sung Heung-min, who is a key player in their setup, especially for the Bundesliga team. And also, apart from, if you take a look, Lee Kang is also crucial player for them. So it's a good team, and they have the capability to beat the European giants and the South African giant if they progress ahead in the tournament. And apart from South Korea, if you take a look, the teams from the Africa, especially Morocco, the kind of performance they delivered last time around was fantastic. So they have a different, we can say, the culture in the football. And the teams who are playing the first time, like Curaçao and the Cape Verde, Jordan and Uzbekistan, they are also playing the fantastic football. If we take a story of the Curaçao, one of the smallest country, island nation, the kind of football they have played with the, we can say, the 2010 FIFA has given them $10 million in grant, and after that, the way they have just improved their football, the kind of upset they have made, definitely they're not going to win the World Cup, but with their performance, just they can surprise the heavyweights of the game. We see that Italy is not in this World Cup for the 3rd consecutive time, and Germany is not a force they used to be. They are in the transition stage. So hoping that how the big guns deal with these teams remains to be seen. But it's an expanded World Cup of the 48 teams. Definitely we will see some fairy tale stories. It remains to be seen who emerged as the stunner, who emerged as a surprise package of this tournament.
Longest and biggest World Cup, Narayan, like you said, 48 teams, over 100 games, 104 games to be precise. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.